Hey guys, Cody with commercialroofer.com. We're doing an on-site inspection with one of our clients here today on an actual single-ply roof system. So before we get started here on the exterior, I'm gonna go inside. We're gonna do some discovery, ask some questions, do some probing, figuring out what the actual issues are here at this roof. And then I'll come back out, we'll do a perimeter inspection on the ground, and then we'll go up the ladder and I'll show you what's next. The manager did show me where the leaks are coming in, within the kitchen. I took some photographs, I took a quick video, and saw what I could see from the underneath. They do have a drop ceiling, so we're unable to see the underdeck, so we're gonna actually have to perform a core sample here today. I'll show you guys how to do that when we get on the roof. Before we hop up on the roof, or before I even set up the ladder, I'm gonna walk around the exterior perimeter and just take a bunch of photos. So as I'm walking around the perimeter of the building, I really wanna make sure that I just really capture images from all four corners, so that way I can kind of get an overview of every side of the building. All right guys, once we get the ladder set up, first thing I do before I even climb up is I'm gonna take some photos right here at the eave. I wanna see what the termination process was for the roof system at the drainage system, if there's a gutter here. And something else I want to note is I've never taken safety lightly, and neither should you. Anytime that I don't have a roof access, a roof hatch or something to come through, I'm always ensuring that our ladders are tied off here at the top. So you'll see I used a cinch strap just to make sure it's tight, so like this ladder literally can't go anywhere. So you'll notice I have a few things with me. On my tool belt, I actually have a probing rod so that we can actually go through and probe all of the seams and all of the laps. I have a pair of pliers in case I need to bend back some flashings to take a look and see if there's any water getting inside of anywhere. I also have a flashlight with me in case I need to look at any of the curb mounts to see anything that I wouldn't be able to see without it. Here in the bag, this is just my core sample bag, so I have everything from the actual core sample tool itself to everything I would need to clean, prep the area, pull my core sample, and then to seal everything back up, just to ensure that we're not causing more leaks on this roof system than what's already here. Okay, it may be personal preference, but for me, I always like to work around the perimeter of the roof system if possible, and then work my way in. This kind of ensures that we're not going to miss any, particular areas during our inspection. And most of the time, whenever we have leaks, they're usually coming from some sort of termination around the perimeter. So for this roof specifically, where the leaks are, I don't think that's the case, but again, we follow a structured system just to make sure we do the same thing in and out on every single inspection. Okay, so on the perimeter, you'll notice that here we have what's called a parapet cap, and not the traditional way of these ones weren't installed the traditional way, or in my opinion, the correct way that they should have been fastened. So we can start to see here, and I can even take my probing rod, and you can see there's areas where this roof is definitely leaking right there. Missing fasteners, peeled back membrane, the whole 9 yards. That's actual footage of the roofers that did most of the work on here. So in looking at this roof, there's been a ton of patch and repair style repairs or service made on this roof. Not everything was done the way it should have been, so our options are going to be really limited here as we start to put together ideas and options for this building owner's asset. Yeah, this just feels super soft. You can see at one point in time this was a nice membrane, but it's like they've had guys come up here and just slap coats and coats of just different types of coatings and sealants trying to get this thing sealed up. I'm assuming it's leaked for the last probably 10 to 15 years. All right, so like I said, once we're done with the perimeter, I'll usually start to work my way inwards. With a lot of these laps, I'm going to be unable to actually probe them just because of all the sealants and coatings that are over top of this membrane itself. However, I can take a look at even some of these corner patches and things where they've tied the other membranes in, and there's just endless amounts of area. You can even see water coming out as I lift this out. So we'll just go straight in with the core tool. This is right in the middle of a roll, so we think there's leaks there, we think there's leaks here, so we're going to go right in between those. So first things first, I want to figure out what kind of deck I'm dealing with, right? What kind of substrate I need. So I'll use my handy dandy flashlight here. And Luke, I don't know if you want to try to get a shot of this, but you can pretty clearly see that we're dealing with a steel deck, which is nice because it means we'll have a nice sturdy substrate to work on if we were to tear this thing off. However, as I look at this core here, number one, I'm going to get some measurements. So it looks like we're a total of about 2.5 inches deep to the decking substrate, and then I'm going to kind of dissect this. And this one's really simple. So it's really just a 2-inch iso board, a 2-inch basically foam board, and what seems to be a reinforced membrane of some sort. I'm going to guess TPO, but I don't know that off the top of my head. It's going to be PVC or TPO, one of the two. And yeah, so from here, this is not wet, so that's good news. What I'm going to do is I'm going to patch this bad boy back up, and I'm going to do another one probably about 10 to 15 feet on the other side of this unit. And if we're dry there, then we're actually in pretty good shape. So more than likely this is actually going to eat some of this coating away, which is perfectly fine. I'd like to have just a nice clean membrane here anyways to make sure I get adhesion for my patch. And the main thing is, before we try to put a patch down, we want to let that paint thinner or solvent or cleaner, whatever you're utilizing to clean the area, we want to make sure that it flashes off. It's a nice and dry surface. So again, like I said earlier, that we're not causing more issues for this building owner. All right, so after a little bit of work, I've got a patch ready, and you guys will notice that I have a roll, I think it's like 400 feet, 300, 400 feet of these EPDM patches, and they're just peel and stick. They take a minute to actually get to adhere when the weather's cold like it is today, but after the sun starts to hit it, this thing will do just fine. It's crazy. When I was inside, the manager that was walking me through the kitchen was showing me, you know, a couple spots where the water was coming through, and like by the looks of it up here, you know, if I had to take a guess, there's probably a lot more water than that actually coming through, just not making it to, you know, a visible area, not making it, you know, to where they're actually being able to see it. Yep. There's another one there. It was covered up by a part of the coating, but there's water coming in right there. So I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but there's about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch gap, like all the way around this pipe protrusion, and it's just water funneling in. This is pretty much the general area where the general manager showed me that they do have water intrusion coming in, and I'm seeing a lot of things, but things like that are pretty obvious, you know, just creating a funnel basically to let that water come right into the building. Looks like someone else had the same idea with our peel and stick EPDM. I don't know that it's necessarily ideal material for like a long-term fix. Upon inspecting this thing, we're just finding like more and more examples of poor workmanship, poor craftsmanship, and we don't want to be those guys. So more than likely what's going to happen here, depending on where, you know, what I find during my core samples, we're going to put a proposal together for this whole entire roof to be replaced, just based on the 5 or 6 things that I've already mentioned here. You know, being an old roof, I can tell that there's water underneath just as we walk on some of the sections, especially up there in the upper right hand corner. You know, the perimeter flashings are just in terrible shape. People have tried to put like rubber EPDM patches over top of the metal, and they're peeling up. Then they tried to coat over top of them, and it's just a bad deal all around. A whole hodgepodge of bad workmanship. Roof's way past its serviceable life. I wouldn't feel comfortable putting a coating over top of this thing just after, you know, there's 3 or 4 layers of different coating materials here, and just the way that everything ties in, there really needs to be a lot of work done to a lot of the flashings, where the single ply transitions into the metal. The capping, parapet capping just needs to be replaced altogether, and yeah, should be a good one on paper. Okay, cool. Just wrapped up an inspection here on a typical commercial building here with one of our clients in the state of Indiana. In our program, Commercial Roofer University, we're actually showing guys how to get leads just like this, how to navigate the discovery process, do the inspection, build the estimate, and then how to close the deal. If you guys want more tips and tricks, check out our YouTube. If you want information on actually joining our university, check us out at commercialroofer.com.